Sports Carnival broadcasting live, baby. Trauma Center Studio, powered by the Recovery Room. Happy Major League Baseball opening day, Matt. A day in which many people across the country, at least sports fanatics, feel should be a national holiday. Top of the morning. How the fuck you doing, big guy? I am stoked. We have got our opening day party starting in exactly 5 hours.
Your blessings, man. Yeah, I'm excited. This is officially, this would be the official day of spring for me. I don't need the calendar date. I just need the opening day of baseball.
Well, I'm hoping that opening day of Major League Baseball brings spring weather out west because, Matt, we're going to Vegas next Thursday, right? So a week from today, we're actually going to be taking off for Las Vegas, which does mean, just a little programming note, we're going to have some off and on shows next week. So we'll probably end up doing a couple of days, but for the most part, we're going to be traveling, getting a whole bunch of stuff done, doing some check-ins on social media. But I'm hoping that it warms up out there with spring. It was 44 fucking degrees in Vegas yesterday.
It's just cold everywhere right now. And
that's not fair, man.
It's not fair at all. And it's we're going to bring up baseball later. It's going to be cold for a lot of starting pitchers today as well, too. So it's just going to be cold everywhere. I'm looking forward to next week, brother. Like we brought up before on the show, I've never been to Vegas, so I'm looking forward to going out there, hanging out with you and seeing the sights.
Yeah, me too. I just don't want it to be warmer here than it is in Las Vegas. That's what I do not want. It's going to be 45 today here and sunny. Gorgeous day. By the way, I mentioned opening day party. Get your asses out of work and down to the Recov 1 o'clock. Stadium food specials, dollar off of beers, kind of like a mini happy hour. I'm going to be bringing some prizes out of the prize vault here, if you will, the memorabilia vault for folks to possibly win. But I don't want it to be as cold in Las Vegas as it is here, or conversely, as warm here as it would be in Las Vegas. That would disappoint me because truly, the start of spring has always been, for me, pool season. March 15th began pool season in Las Vegas, Matt. That's how I knew spring had officially sprung, because April, May, some of the most beautiful weather in the entire year out there. So get with it, Vegas, because baseball starts today. Let's go.
I'm looking forward to it no matter what, brother. I guess the way that I'm looking at it is there's always casinos. So if the weather sucks outside, trust me, I'm right there. I would love to have some beautiful weather. I'd love for just to be spring all the way around. I'm happy we're not a weather show. We've gone down that road a few times, but we can never predict what happens in Wisconsin or what's going to happen out there.
I would have zero fucking luck with predicting the weather in Wisconsin, but I do want to hang out tough at the pools in Vegas because, I can see us getting a couple nights a little tied on, and then in the morning or whatever, to be able to go down to the pool and soak up vitamin D, sit in the sun, dip my toes in water. That's what I really want.
Oh, for sure. I don't want my skin color matching the color of my hat right now when we come back from Vegas. I want to have, a little pigment in my skin.
Yes. My mom just texted or joined the show here on our Twitch platform this morning, and she says it will be in the 60s when we are there.
Well, and I think Morningwood hopped in yesterday and thought we might get some snow up here when we're in Vegas. So we'll see what happens all the way around.
Hey, listen, if we get snow here while we're in Vegas, perfect timing. That's when I want snow, when we're in Vegas. All right, Marengo Mike checking in from Huntley, Illinois, just a shade outside of Chicago this morning, says weather at Wrigley today will be in the low 50s. Rain shouldn't happen until after the game. Hopefully, go Cubs, go. I know that you're a Cubs fan. You've got your Cubs shirt on this morning. Listen, the Cubs are going to be an interesting team this year. Yesterday, we talked about where we think they might land. This morning, I want to get back into it because the win total for the Cubs, it isn't extremely high. There aren't a lot of folks, predictive nature-wise, that think the Cubs are going to be a great team this year. I look at the Cubs, though, and always say, at least over the last 15 years, don't count them out, because Chicago, for one, can always go out and buy players. They can get into that market. They're not the Brewers. I know that your owners aren't necessarily the most willing to spend all the money in the world, but they're at least more willing to spend than a number of major league teams. So Chicago's never completely out of it. They're just not. It's like Boston, New York. They're not completely out of it ever, no matter what.
Well, and I guess the biggest thing with bringing up all the time with even the Packers and their expectance, what they expect of Jordan Love this year. You know how much I bitch about the city of Chicago. There hasn't been very many high expectations for their four major teams in a long period of time.
No, that's not true. Well, the Cubbies
last 5 years.
Okay.
Within the last 5 years. You got to give me that, because the Bulls have not been there. The Bears have been horrible. Blackhawks have been rebuilding, and the Cubs haven't done shit since 2016.
Well, and they were in the mix, though, I should say, those years after, because I remember covering the Cubs the first few years that I was here at Yu Darvish. I mean, they were making a play. They still had the kid from Vegas. I'm forgetting his name now. He plays for San Francisco right now, but he was your third baseman, long time.
Oh, Chris Bryant.
Chris Bryant.
Yeah, I got you, man.
I covered that dude when he was in high school.
Oh, man.
I called a couple of his games.
Phenomenal as they talked about it?
Yes. So here's the thing, and you could tell Major League Baseball player just jumped off the screen. or at least in my case, because the film crew behind me was, actually filming him. I'm calling the game. Anyways, this kid comes out, he pitches 4 or 5 innings, strikes everybody out. He's throwing like 100 miles an hour at that time, and maybe it wasn't quite that high.
Right.
But he's just smoking these cats. Then after he's done dominating them pitching, they make him go to third base, and then they go make him shag fly balls in the outfield. I think he hit 5 for 8 dingers, that game. Yeah. He was peppering it all over the place. And that was always what was interesting to me as somebody who watched baseball growing up in the youth level and then saw it translate into major leagues. Why is it that all of the best players were always the best pitchers? Because they always were. Go down the line of every Major League Baseball player today. They were absolutely the best pitcher on their team in Little League Baseball. They were in high school. They were absolutely the best pitchers, all of them.
Patrick Mahomes as well. I'm just going to throw him out
absolutely.
there.
His dad was great.
Yeah, for the Cubs as well. I was going to throw
I'm just surprised. Let me just finish this. I'm surprised that they stopped letting players be baseball players. Shohei Ohtani is the only actual baseball player, if you really think about it, that's left, because the guy fucking pitches and he bats. He does all of it.
Was Bryce Harper on that team as well with Chris Bryant?
No. Bryce Harper was a couple of years before him. They were in the same age range. Bryce had already gone to college. But Bryce, here's something that you probably don't remember. Bryce Harper dropped out of high school in his sophomore year, got a GED, went to community college, the College of Southern Nevada, because it was a wood bat league.
Okay.
So the kid was on Sports Illustrated at 16, finishes high school, goes and plays in college. He was the first overall draft pick at 18, and he got into the majors right away. Bryce Harper gets a little bit of shit thrown at him. That dude is a fucking Hall of Famer.
Oh, yeah.
First ballot fucking Hall of Famer. He's a league MVP in 2 leagues, or at least a 2-time league MVP for the National League, I should say. Mm-hmm. He was fantastic. Not on the same team, but boy, Chris Bryant played for Cimarron Memorial, I think, and was just fantastic. He was a monster.
I just loved it. I was going back today. I'm just more excited now for baseball.
Oh, God, I'm stoked. And I think that Rob Dog is stoked as well. He says, happy opening day. Happy opening day to you too, Rob. You are probably one of our biggest baseball, if not our biggest baseball fan here on the Sports Carnival. Rob Dog says, all hope has been renewed, and this is the Brewers' year. No, it's not. And Matt, amen to springtime. Go Brewers and screw the Cubs. Okay, well, listen, we'll go ahead and take a quick pause. This is not the Brewers' year for anything. They're going to be a good team. They'll be fine enough. They'll be fun to watch. They're not winning the World Series. But I do want to dig in to Brewers win totals. As a matter of fact, Matt and I've got that as the subject of our poll question this morning. So Facebook group members, take this morning's poll on the Facebook group page. If you're also on our Twitter feed at The Sports Carney, take the poll question there. I want to go over the rest of the win totals for the NFL. Yesterday, we talked about the NFC North. Matt, we'll talk about the rest of the NFL. We've also got some Bucks, some Bucks highlights to cover. I wish we could show you the highlights from last night. These guys actually made messy of the Indiana Pacers, who played no defense. Drew was amazing. Giannis was fantastic. So we've got a lot to cover. And very special guest joining the program, friend of yours, friend of ours at the Good Fight, Nate Coleman will be joining the program. We'll talk some boxing. Stay tuned. Sports Carnival coming right back. What can I say? The Recovery Room on 7th and Mississippi Street is not only my favorite bar in all of downtown La Crosse, Wisconsin, it's my favorite restaurant in all of downtown La Crosse, Wisconsin. Breakfast served 8 to noon, Saturday and Sundays, daily specials, incredible cocktails, and the best damn wait staff in the entire city. My buddy Matt knows how to treat you right, and that's why when you go to the Recovery Room on 7th and Mississippi, you're always going to have a great time and a great meal with a great cocktail. So if you haven't been in a while, or perhaps you're just regular and you want to stop in again, make it a thing. I'm there every single week. How about you?
At the Little Doobie's Pizza, we kill 2 stone birds with 1 rock every time with our hand-rolled Doobie Deluxe for only $49.95. That's a street value of over $75.
No way!
The Doobie Deluxe is a hand-rolled 18-inch pizza that will blow your bone-resent mind.
Whoa!
Topped with a sausage, black olives, extra cheese, and about a half ounce of the finest kush at east side of San Bernardino.
Dude, give me another slice.
Because at Little Doobie's Pizza, we put a little TLC in our THC.
And right now, for a limited time only, get an order of crazy cannabis bread for only $10 with an order of a Doobie Deluxe at the street value of over $22.50.
You know what we say at the Little Doobie's Pizza? Why get stoned then eat when you can do both at the same time?
Doobies.
Welcome on back to the Sports Carnival, broadcasting live from the Trauma Center studio, powered by the Recovery Room. Wherever you are, however it is that you may be picking us up today, appreciate you. I know Nate Coleman is no spring chicken. Nate, I hope you're able to find us before we get you on here, because Nate was having some issues with like the tech of all this. Where is the show? Can you send me a link? And I'm like, not specifically, but it's on YouTube, it's on Twitch, it's on Twitter, it's on Facebook. It's on LinkedIn, and if you want to pick us up after in the audio podcast version, we're everywhere. So wherever you get your podcast, that's where you're going to find the Sports Carnival. Coming up today, Matt, 1 o'clock in the afternoon, we begin what has become an annual tradition here in lacrosse, the Brewers opening day party at the Recovery Room. First pitch is scheduled to be right about 1:20. I feel that that'll mostly hold. It may go just a teeny bit after, because sometimes they get, I don't know, another couple of minutes of pomp and circumstance, but we'll start the party about 1. First pitch is going to be about 1:20. And like I say, this has become kind of a spring staple for us in lacrosse. I don't know that there is a better opening day party in the entire city. And we've got a lot of bars that do a lot of great things for Brewer baseball. We really do. We're lucky for that. But at the Recov, this has turned into just like the place to be for opening day. I'm so excited. I can't wait. I already told people yesterday at the Recov to just quit work early. Just don't come back if you're taking lunch, or call in. Just call in. You've got a case of the Brewers. That's it. It's an easy ride out. I'll send you a note too, by the way, to your worker place of employment. No problem.
Yeah, we stayed at a Holiday Inn last night or something.
Well, we are the Recovery Room. We should get like a what do you want to call it? Like prescription slips.
Oh,
so that we can hand those out.
No problem. Sure.
Boom.
I'm all good about that. I think it's a great idea. Sorry, you got me off track there for a second. What I was going to go say is this is also great and lucky for me being a Cubs fan, and then all the Brewers and Cubs fans out there. This is the second year in a row that the Cubs and Brewers have both opened up on opening day. So it's a pretty cool thing that's happening, and it just makes it for a bigger party today.
Yeah, it's awesome. I think that for Brewer fans, it's probably a little bit less than the 100% awesome, because you'd wish it was in Miller Park or at American Family Field, excuse me. But you'd wish it was here in Milwaukee. But at the same time, we as Brewer fans collectively turned Chicago and Wrigleyville into Milwaukee North. That's what we did over the last couple of years. Because
I mean, they're only 83 miles apart.
Yes.
The biggest thing about that is Cubs fans. Wrigley's obviously usually sold out because, well, everybody's usually drunk and not paying attention to the game. But yeah, it's harder for.
They pay attention to the game, don't they?
There's some hardcore baseball fans down in Chicago, obviously, but there's also the kids on their phones that we brought up, and we're not going to bring that up. But it's a lot easier for Cubs fans to unfortunately get tickets in Milwaukee in the past, not so much in the most recent years, but it's been evened out a lot the last couple of years.
It really has. I saw some Cub games last year that really had a lot of Brewer fans, a lot of Milwaukee fans in attendance, and that was at Wrigley Field. It was probably closer to the end of the season, though, when the Cubs were actually technically out of it. Right? Like, I think that's probably when I've seen more. But needless to say, if you're traveling to Chicago today, be safe, get there, and support those Brewers. We do know, at least when it comes to Milwaukee Brewer baseball, if opening day is in Milwaukee, it's at American Family Field, we get to see opening day baseball. That's not always been the case for Cub fans, for Twins fans, for fans of teams in areas of the country in which, look, I don't know how much earlier we have the start of the season now as opposed to 15, 25, 35 years ago, if maybe a couple of days. But the weather has been inclement on a lot of opening days over the last decade or so. Like Minnesota especially has had a real hard time, seemingly, at least in my recollection, getting some of their season started because they play at a beautiful stadium. It's just fucking outside. Right. So yeah, we can still get snow in in March, in April, especially around the start of Major League Baseball. But it doesn't look like that today. Marengo Mike checked in and said, because he's just outside of Chicago, he said that it looks like, hopefully, knock on wood, the rain won't start in Chicago until after the game is over. Needless to say, inside the Recov, weather's going to be fantastic. We'll have it at about 67, 68 degrees on the thermostat. That'll make sure that nobody fucks with it. We've got stadium specials. It's going to be awesome. Brats, dogs. We'll still have our traditional and spicy gyros and prime rib specials. And we'll have sort of like a mini happy hour too, Matt said. $1 off beers. It's going to be a lot of fun. So hopefully you're able to come out and join us. I see P1 Breacher is checking in. He says 0 rain in the forecast for the city of Chicago. Awesome.
Well, what I was going to throw out there is even the Wrigley Field is not off the lake. You're still going to get a little lake effect off the Lake Michigan, so it is going to be a little cold down there, which isn't a bad thing for Chicago, or for the starting pitchers, I should say.
Sure.
It's going to make it better for them, more lively arms. The batters are not going to be as comfortable today because if they get little pitched inside, it's not going to be really nice on the hands. So it should be a good pitching battle today with Burns and Stroman today as well. And all around in major leagues today, Dave, there's 8 Cy Young awards that are starting on the bump. Cy Young award winning pitchers that are on the bump today. So it's going to be a good day for baseball all around.
Verlander is going to be the oldest reigning Cy Young player to ever switch teams. He is 40 years old now, and switched from Houston last year where he won a World Series, his second, won that Cy Young, and he'll be opening up for the Mets. All right, opening day party, 1 o'clock today at the Recov. Be there or be square. Matt, I do want to get into Brewer win totals.
Yes,
I do. But before we do that, and I see Eric from La Crescent, Boomstick, and others checking in and chiming in, I should say, about what we saw from Drew Holiday and the Milwaukee Bucks last night. So we might as well just take you there. We had the Bucks as big favorites last night. They were 12.5-point favorites. They end up covering that spread, winning by 13, 149-136. Giannis Antetokounmpo, let's just go to Giannis in the beginning, was the driving force as always for this Bucks team. His aggressiveness, his assertiveness, Matt, and just his sheer talent and domination of the Pacers was such that in the first half, 20 points, 10 rebounds, 9 assists, he brought the rest of the team with him. Drew Holiday, however, had himself a night, not just a night, a career night. 51 points for Drew Holiday. And I checked out this stat this morning when I was putting together some stuff for the show. Drew Holiday became the 4th oldest player in the history of the NBA to have his first 50-point game. Wow. He's only 32, so it's not like the guy is super long in the tooth. But this comes to the Bucks at a time in which, the rest of the NBA is trying to figure out these meaningless, in some cases, regular season awards. Like Joey Miller is going to be super excited that Nikola Jokic wins his 3rd MVP and loses in the first round of the playoffs again. Awesome. The Bucks are gearing up for a championship. And what we're seeing from Giannis, from Drew, from Chris Middleton, Bobby Portis, Brooke Lopez, you name it, what we are seeing from these guys each and every night out is simply spectacular. So hats off to Drew Holiday. Giannis again, 17 rebounds, 12 assists last night. The Bucks have an NBA best record, 55-21. This team is just, it's such a pleasure to watch. I'm so glad to be a Bucks fan. I'm so glad to be in the state of Wisconsin and having the opportunity to see the team, the Milwaukee Bucks, go from afterthought. You got the Packers, the Badgers, the Brewers, and then people had the Bucks as an afterthought to go from that level of complete sort of feelings to where they're at now. This team is just fantastic. We're lucky to have this kind of a basketball team. And Matt, I just hope that for what it's worth, sports fans in Wisconsin are soaking it up because this is a fun time to be a Bucks fan.
That game was so much fun to watch. And obviously, you and I, before we got on, we talked about, the energy for the Pacers wasn't there at all times. So I kind of want to thank the Pacer organization for kind of giving the Bucks a little tune-up for the game tonight.
Sure.
Because it was more like a practice for the Bucks. Just to watch how Giannis played, the smoothness of the offense, the assists were fantastic. The defense was stout in a lot of ways, but then you had Giannis flying like Superman coming out of nowhere on some of these dunks, and even Grayson Allen throwing down a hammer dunk too. So
Grayson Allen,
he came out and just boom. So the game was it was spectacular to watch, fun to watch for me, for a guy that really, it's hard for me, painful for me to watch a lot of Bucks games, but like you brought up there,
why is it?
It's more of the officiates, when it comes sometimes
the officiates,
the officiation, officials.
There we go.
The game yesterday was a lot more smooth on both sides. It wasn't a clunky game to watch. So that's why I really, really enjoyed the game. It looked very smooth, even on both sides, even though the Pacers really weren't playing a lot of defense.
Neither were the Bucks. They allowed 136 points. I
mean,
it was a big up and down battle. The Pacers, they weren't just giving in to Milwaukee. Milwaukee pulled away quite substantially late, but the Pacers were giving it a go. Jordan Norwell, by the way, looked really good for the Pacers since the Bucks not released him, but traded him to Indiana because he was getting no time, no burn, and he wasn't going to. But Jordan Norwell was starting to look good for he's starting to look good for the Pacers.
Who's this?
This was a former Milwaukee Buck. So the Bucks drafted Norwell in the second round of the draft a couple of years back, and they traded Norwell to the Pacers.
Norwell.
Norwell, okay. Nowra. So Norwell was for the Pacers last night. I mean, a starter, 34 minutes, had 18 points, had a couple of rebounds, couple assists, and a steal. 7 for 14 from the field, 3 of 6 from downtown, hit a free throw, 1 of 2 from the line. But like I say, this kid for Milwaukee was not getting substantial run and wasn't going to. There was just no place for him on the roster. But checking out his stats over the last 10 games, since Norway, again, has been a Pacer for about a month and a half. Over the last 10 games, Norway's averaging 14 points and 5 rebounds. Congratulations. This kid was, again, second-round draft pick, 45th overall out of Louisville. Couple of years ago from the,
okay. I do remember him out of Louisville now.
You're seeing his face now in front of us.
As soon as you said Louisville, I'm like, yeah, okay, I remember it. Yep.
Yeah, so I'm happy to see the kid playing well. I'm glad that they didn't beat the Bucks, and I'm glad the Bucks covered the spread, but I'm glad to see the kid playing well. Speaking of covering spreads, the Bucks tonight, 2.5-point favorites against the Boston Celtics. 6:30 p.m. tip. We'll have the game on at the Recov. We do anticipate the Brewers game going substantially. We expect it to go substantially shorter than years past. Okay, I'm not sure that it's going to go under 2 hours and 30 minutes, but I don't know if it's going to go that much over. I saw a stat this morning. I was telling you the average game in spring training has been 2 hours and 34 minutes. So
not looking so dumb as I was yesterday.
No, you and I have a bet for over under 2 hours and 30 minutes. I still am happy with the over. By the way, we didn't discuss compensation.
Yeah, we talked about Malort shots, but we passed on that.
Let's do this. Okay, so I'm wearing Stacks Family Farms hat this morning, right? Okay, Johnny Wad. Hope to see you. I'm pretty sure we'll see.
He's in Vegas.
Oh, that's right. He's at the convention.
Yep.
I forgot. Okay, never mind. Johnny, we'll go ahead and have a shot for you. Why don't we do a Stacks Family Farms 2-pack? Okay,
I'm good with that.
Either way,
I'm good with that.
Okay,
I'm okay with it. I just want to get back to the NBA before we move on to everything else.
Yeah.
Is Middleton playing tonight?
Tonight, that's an interesting question. Let's.
And then I guess
I think he should be, but let's see what the designation is real quick. Hold tight.
Yeah. While you're looking up that nugget, I want to throw out a big old congratulations to the Sacramento Kings for finally making the playoffs since 2006. Yes. And thank you again for that. Guess what team in the major sports leagues is now there?
Okay, so you're talking about
longest postseason drought.
There you go. I was like, you're going to get there. I knew what you were going to. The Jets now have the
longest, New York Jets,
and they're followed by the Buffalo Sabres. And after the Sabres, it is, oh boy. So it's the
I just
Jets.
don't know if Chad's not listening because this is getting scripted really well.
Oh, this is fantastic. And Chad, the producer, knows everything is just it's scripted for your entertainment, right? At least that's kind of what he thinks. Yeah. So Buffalo Sabres, New York Jets. Gosh, there's another team that's in there. The Angels, the Los Angeles Angels haven't been in 8 years. The last time they made it was 2014. Yeah, check on that. Jets, Sabres, Angels. I think in that order. Last night again, Bucks 149, Pacers 136. Tonight, the Bucks and the Celtics. We do agree, both Matt and myself, the baseball game will be over by 6:30. And again, it starts at 1:20. There have been years in which I've been less than confident that the game would not take 5 hours. But this year, to the pitch clocks, I think credit. We'll see this game probably around 2.5, 3 hours. I'm going to go slightly over 2.5 hours.
We got the Seattle Mariners up there too, my friend.
The Mariners. Okay, so we've got, so it's the Jets, the Sabres, the Mariners. And no, the Mariners made it last year. That's an old list. The Mariners made it last year.
Okay.
Well, they broke that drought. Remember, because they had a 23-year consecutive drought.
Yeah, it was 20. Yeah, 21, yes. 22. Yep.
Right on that. So, no, they got in. Anyways, that's still funny because, the Jets are the team that Aaron Rodgers wants to go to. And this is just a quick aside because I know Jeff Schneider from Schneider Tax and Accounting thinks that anywhere Aaron Rodgers goes, they're going to be good. Why? The Packers didn't make the playoffs last year. They lost to Detroit at home. They got killed by the Jets. Not just beaten, but killed 27-10. Why is Rodgers going to make the Jets better? Tell me that. He couldn't make the Packers better. So why is he going to make the Jets better? Huh? Okay. Yeah. Moving on.
I have those for you real quick, brother.
Okay, go.
It's last two that we didn't get right were you had the Angels right, then it's the Tigers and the Charlotte Hornets.
Those. Well, I know the Sabres are on there.
Okay, yep, no. So
that's the NHL.
You had the first couple right. So it goes Jets, Sabres, Angels, Detroit Tigers, and then the Charlotte Hornets.
Okay, well, going down the list. All right, so we had the top four, though, because we scratched one of them off with the Kings.
Yep.
So the Kings were 17 years, no playoffs. Now it is the Jets, the Sabres, the Angels. I didn't know the other ones are in there, but there you
Doesn't
go.
Matter. You got it right.
All right, so real quick, because I see that Eric from La Crescent's checking back in, and I like being told when I'm right. He says, DC, good call on Norwa. What's your over-under on the Vikings landing Lamar? Interesting. Okay, so yesterday, it really started to pop up, Matt. I'm not sure if you heard about this. but it really started to pop up that the Vikings could be, and Mike Schmidt brought this up with us, right?
It's been going on for about a week and a half.
Okay, but I mean, we're starting to hear really there would possibly be some moves like the Wilfs and those involved with the Vikings ownership might be willing to do this. Over under, we can't do an over under. What we would do is a money line bet on something like that, Eric. So because over under would give us a timeline or something, but the money line bet on Lamar going to the Vikings, I still say it's a bit of a long shot. I would go plus 850 to plus 1,000. So basically, if you'd bet $100, you'd win $1,000. I don't think it's super likely to happen. I feel like eventually, because of the way that this is working out, I feel like eventually Baltimore actually keeps him. I know that sounds stupid, but I feel like Baltimore probably keeps him because here's the thing. What does Baltimore do for a quarterback if they let Lamar go?
They're just as screwed as Jets are if they don't get Aaron Rodgers.
They're worse because at least the Jets could throw Zach Wilson back out there if they absolutely had
right.
to. I mean, that guy was terrible last year, but they did draft him number 2 overall. If they had to, get out there, kid. Right? I mean, like there's somebody there.
Well, the Ravens supposedly went after Baker Mayfield. That didn't work out either. So I have no idea what they're going to do.
Baker Mayfield? Yep. His white ass would get killed.
That's just in the reports. Yeah, so that's supposedly
Baker Mayfield's he's in Tampa Bay now, right?
Yep, he's in Tampa now. So yeah, they don't really have a lot of options. Kind of what we talked about with Coach yesterday about the Bears and their options because there's not a lot of players out there that can, shift the pendulum on whether you're going to win or lose. And Lamar Jackson is one of those players that's out there.
Yeah, I mean, we'll send them Cousins is what Eric says. I mean, listen, if Baltimore felt like they could win with Kirk Cousins, I'm sure they would take a flyer on that. If in fact Lamar truly isn't going to be part of Baltimore's future, but we've all seen Kirk Cousins play. I mean, I think Baltimore might just say, well, we've got this kid Huntley. He threw like 2 touchdowns last year. We'll be okay. I mean, at some point you're just kind of like, all right, Kirk Cousins is okay, I guess, in spots. Like he's okay. He's not the worst quarterback. I don't know if I'd want to trade for him. I'd want the cap relief if I could get it as opposed to Kirk Cousins and a better draft pick.
That's where I was going to go with this too, because this is all going to come down if Lamar Jackson is going to, put his feet down and want to stay where he wants to stay. You just need one owner out of 30, I guess now one owner out of 31 to come out and say, hey, I will pay this kid, or now 30 because Haslam screwed it up last year for the Ravens. That's where everybody's still pissed off about this. And that's where the sticking is because Lamar wants some guaranteed money. And there's a lot of owners out there that just don't want to pay him all that much money.
Well, see, and I think that there's something to remember, too, with Kirk Cousins. He was the guy that got the first fully guaranteed contract. Remember, he was the 3-year, $84 million fully guaranteed. The Vikings gave him that, right?
Well,
so
after they franchise tagged him like 2 years in a row, too. So, I mean,
no, that was in Washington. When he went to the Vikings, that was the fully guaranteed contract because he left Washington after getting franchised those 2 years and then got the fully guaranteed contract with Minnesota. So he was the first one to get a fully guaranteed contract, 3 years, $84 million. All right. So he got that from Minnesota when he went to Minnesota. But now that price tag, when you look at what 3 years and $84 million is compared to what these guys are getting now, that seems like a fucking bargain, right? Like, I mean, that's an absolute steal.
Well, I think Patrick Mahomes is a bargain right now, too. And we brought that up before. They can just keep redoing it over and over again.
Which is why he's an incredible quarterback and has won a Super Bowl since signing that new contract and gone to multiple AFC title games. So Lamar, to the Vikings. Listen,
that'd be scary.
I'd say it's plus 1,000. If he does go to Minnesota, wow, that would be a fun team to watch because you talk about weapons. Yeah, they've got some weapons.
NFC North would be turned upside down.
Jesus. And then the Bears would be looking back at my take that they should have gotten Lamar Jackson and saying, yes, we should have gone after him. I've been on the Bears trying to go after this guy for a while, and I know it sounded crazy to many at the time, but I'm still amongst the few that think that when you've got a generational talent that's missed, 10 games the last 2 years, whatever.
I'm with you.
He's 26. Go get him.
The McCaskies are too cheap. They're too fucking cheap. They're one of the cheapest fucking ownerships in all of pro sports.
That's sad. All right, let's change gears just a bit because Nate Coleman from the Good Fights going to be joining the program coming up in just a few. Nate's a great guy. We're going to talk some boxing with Nate. I've got a question about boxing that I can't wait to throw to Nate. So we'll be talking to Nate, as mentioned, coming up in just a few. The poll question this morning, however, is our Facebook group page, our Twitter feed, @the Sports Carney, and, of course, the Facebook group page is just the Sports Carnival. How many games do you think the Brewers win? If you're watching us on YouTube, on Twitter, on Twitch, on LinkedIn, on Facebook, you can see the graphic. If you're listening to us, we've got the entire win totals in front of us right now. So the question for you this morning is, how many games do you think the Milwaukee Brewers win? Their win total projection is 84.5 games. Do you think they win 85 plus, 75 to 85, 70 to 75, or under 70? Matt, I'll let you take Facebook. I'm taking Twitter. 85 plus is actually winning right now with 50% of the votes. 75 to 85, which is where I voted, is coming in second at 40%, and under 70 gets 10% of the vote. What do we look like on our Facebook group page?
Facebook page is telling us at 45%, they have 75 to 85 wins. That's first place. Second place is 38% with 85 plus wins. And then third place, 70 to 75 wins. So everybody kind of agrees with you and me on Facebook, because I'm at the 75 and 85 range myself too.
Yeah, I think the 84.5 number is about right. I think they're going to be in the 82 to 85 range. I've seen some folks really bullish on them as far as over 85. Schmidt, yesterday, Mike Schmidt talked about that. He thinks they could be right in that range, about 85, 86 wins. I think if they win 82 to 85 games, it will largely be considered an okay season. I just don't know where the offense comes from on this team. I really don't. And I don't want to be one of those naysayers or Debbie Downers, because today is opening day and we're right now in an era of just complete possibilities, right? Like the possibilities are just wide open for Milwaukee, but there's just not enough bats. And I just don't know where they're going to get hits from. And that's something that I've been waiting for this, with this team for the last couple of years. I mean, once they got rid of Moustakas and once they got rid of Yasmani Grandal, and once they got rid of a number of these guys that were actually able to produce offense, and fuck, Keston Hiura can't even make the team now.
He can't make the team, and Yelich has been downhill too. So yeah, it's been rough.
It's been awful. Yep. And Yelich is your MVP, former MVP, the guy that you paid $200-some million to. If he's not hitting the baseball, which is what he is absolutely being paid to do, this
especially now with the DH.
Oh man, well, I mean, you think that should help Milwaukee?
I think so.
I thought they were better off with the pitchers hitting, and I'm still a National League old school guy, but I thought they were better off because Brandon Woodruff and these cats could actually rake a bit, and then you'd get an advantage because you'd get to play another team's pitcher who wasn't a good hitter. And I thought Milwaukee had a boost in that regard. But irrespective of that, I just don't know where Milwaukee gets hits from. I know they've got Luke Voit back. Okay, swell. That should be something. Rowdy Tellez, I believe they brought back, so he'll switch time with Luke Voit at first base. Maybe they get some offense there. But I don't know. I look back at this team 2, 3, 4 years ago, and I was talking to somebody about it yesterday, Matt. The Brewers had the likes of Jesus Aguilar, who was on a nothing contract. He goes to Miami, continues to be Jesus Aguilar, who was a one-time All-Star. Okay, they didn't want him because they didn't want to have to deal with his less than stellar defensive rating as a first baseman?
Right.
Whatever. And then you look at Mike Moustakas and some of these other guys. I mean, they were good for 20, 25 homers. They bat for average. They just don't seem to have that kind of punch. And Yelich, of course, at that time was playing much better baseball. You also had Lorenzo Cain before he retired. I just don't know where they get the offense from.
Well, and I guess you and I brought up this adage a week ago or so. You cannot win the World Series in April, but you can definitely lose it. So we'll see what happens with the first month of the opening season, or the month of the opening for the baseball season for the Brewers, the Cubs, and everybody else. Because if everybody starts out a little ugly, it's not really good for the end of the season.
Yeah, I mean, they've got plenty of time to make it up. I never get too panicked. Like normally, this is how it rolls for me with Major League Baseball. I start off on a high because it's like opening day and everything's exciting, right? And you're just rolling through with all this excitement. Then I go back to sleep until about August.
All right.
And then I'm like, all right, wake me up. Oh, wait, that's the record? Okay, swell. Hang on. When we come back, good friend of the program, a good friend of the Recubs, and a good friend of lacrosse area children, Nate Coleman, is going to be with us. He runs the organization, The Good Fight. Nate's also a former Golden Gloves boxing champ. We'll be talking to Nate about some boxing. I've got a specific boxing question I cannot wait to ask him, so stay tuned.
Now more than ever, if you're looking to buy or sell your first home or perhaps an investment property, you need a full-time dedicated real estate agent who is up to date on all the latest trends and analysis and is ready to give you the kind of service that you deserve. That's why the official real estate agent and the official real estate partner of the Sports Carnival is Kyle Cable of One Trust Real Estate. Whether you're looking to buy or sell your first home, or perhaps you are a seasoned investor, call the official real estate agent partner of the Sports Carnival, Kyle Cable of One Trust Real Estate.
Do you have a wedding, anniversary party, or bat mitzvah coming up in your life? Then you need Hey Duda DJ Services, featuring Neil Duda,
The Midwest Eminem.
No doubt about it, I'm hammered, and that's every day. Brains are cloudy, dog.
dropping sick beats while you enjoy your treats. No party is too big or too small. Quinceañeras, graduations, ice cream socials,
Or cuckold parties.
whatever the celebration, Hey Duda is rocking the foundation.
Here we go again. Back
Neil Duda.
Gotta love yourself some Neil Duda. Neil always watches the show, listens to the program, but can't always check in with us because, Matt, he is a professional driver, and they don't like it when you are actually driving and texting into programs like this. But I appreciate Neil and all of his contributions. That's a great little DJ service to the cuckold parties, as you saw Matt LaFleur basically dressed up in. Those are ones that you've got to get Neil out to, especially if you're looking at your Packer team coming up and thinking, man, who's the real cuckold on this team? It was Matt LaFleur. It really was. To Aaron Rodgers, but that has changed. The new day has dawned in Green Bay, and we'll see Jordan Love. Yesterday's poll question was, how many touchdown passes will Jordan Love throw? Today's poll question on our Facebook group page or Twitter feed is, how many games will the Milwaukee Brewers win this season? Coming up on Friday, Matt, we'll do another battle of the polls and see which poll this week had the most interaction. Joining us here, the Sports Carnival Carousel is from the Good Fight. Okay, we can hear a little bit of an echo. Nate Coleman, top of the morning, Nate. How are you, buddy?
I'm well. How are you?
Top of the morning, Nate. I just wanted to say thanks for joining us. Hope everything's going all right for you. I know Dave wants to get into some boxing questions with you a little bit. I have some first question for you, talking about competition and the things you do with the Good Fight. So if you want to give us a little background on that, for what our listeners might not be familiar with. But I was more curious about the food cooking competition you just had, I believe, with the YMCA and how that went down, and more details on that.
This is the second year that we're doing this. It's called the Young Chefs Challenge. Last year, it was the Good Fight against the YMCA Youth Center. The same this year. We have 5 kids, 3 of them middle schoolers, 2 of them high schoolers, that compete for our traveling trophy. Last year, we were crowned the champions. We won very close and competitive competition. This year was the first round. There are 3 rounds. They are about a month apart because it gives us the 3 weeks in between to practice and get techniques together. The kids learn to work together. They learn to plate. They learn to shop for the food. So this first round, out of 75 points, the Good Fights scored 70 points. The YMCA Teen Center scored 57 points, so we took a pretty big lead. The protein was salmon, so we had our salmon stuffed with spinach and cream cheese, added some potatoes and asparagus. So the Y Teen Center had salmon with a crab cake and vegetables. So really good. The mayor joined us and judged. So did Heather Armstrong from WXOW and Alex Hubing, who is the principal of Lincoln Middle School.
Very nice.
That's fantastic. Nate, I've got something that I want to throw out there to you, and Matt, I want you to play along with me here. I want to go ahead and offer the services of our Jacob to the Good Fight. Jacob can dress as a child, and we can get Jacob, because he's a fantastic cook, to come in there and sandbag that for you, Nate, and to bring in the extra firepower, because, I don't know if Jacob's 4'11" or so, but he could be a kid, and we could get him some youthful clothes. We'll shave his face up, and we'll have him be like a member of the Good Fight. I think this would work, and you would definitely win. How do you like that? I mean, we can totally.
Actually, he should help Hawaii. If you see us in a fight with a bear, help the bear. The Good Fight is a tough organization. It's why we teach boxing. We teach our kids to be champions, to be resilient. This first round, we had 2 kids who were out. One was sick, and one had another personal issue. And so with 3 kids instead of 5, we pulled off that performance. So, yeah.
All right. So I guess Jacob's off the hook, at least for the Good Fight. Maybe the YMCA will take us on that offer. I'm just, offering services of they're not even my employees. I'm just throwing out people's jobs and all these things. All right, Nate, I do want to ask you a question about boxing, because I mentioned, not only are you the lead of the Good Fight, which helps youth here in the city of La Crosse. I mean, food insecurity, all sorts of after-school programs, but you also like to teach them about boxing. You're a big boxing fan. You were a boxer in your own right for Golden Gloves. Who right now to you is your favorite boxer and why?
Currently, I don't know. It's a tough call, but I think Terrence Crawford right now is my favorite fighter, mostly because he reminds me of the era of fighter that I grew up with. Sort of tough, hardcore, great technical skills. He reminds me a little bit of Marvin Hagler in that the things he does are very subtle. He can switch. He fights orthodox and southpaw. He's very clever. He sets a lot of traps that guys don't see coming. I really wish and hope that he gets to fight Earl Spence real soon and prove that he's the best 147 pounder of this era. But I don't know. The business of boxing sucks these days, so we may not get to see that fight.
The business of boxing is very, very peculiar, especially we were talking about this, Nate, the other day together after Floyd Mayweather really changed in generational terms what it meant to be a prize fighter and how it is that you went about getting these purses and these pay-per-views. I like that you mentioned Earl Spence Jr. I was mentioning Shakur the other day. He's another top-ranked Bob Arum boxer that's really making some waves. I'm still a fan of Canelo Alvarez and Gennady Golovkin. I know that they're much older and they're sort of aging out of the sport in some respects, but I still love the way that Canelo goes about his business. This guy, reminded me a lot of Oscar De La Hoya in some ways, and not just because he's a Mexican fighter, but just really tough. I still think that boxing has got a lot of, I still think that boxing has got a lot of room to not just grow, Nate, but still to be a major player on the worldwide stage. But one thing that I was really curious to get your thoughts on, and I told Matt that I had one specific question for you, is this: celebrity boxing. Nate, it seems that celebrity boxing has taken over in many respects what we used to consider good fight slots. I'm not sure how to feel about it, man. Jake Paul, and I'm glad that he finally lost to at least a club fighter, because I'm not sure that Tommy Fury is much more than a club fighter, but he finally fought a boxer and he loses a boxing match. I'm just curious, as a boxing guy, what are your thoughts about the celebrity boxers and how this is really kind of dominating the sport now?
I don't like it because it for me it takes dollars away from the pot. I think there's a number of collective dollars that people will spend on entertainment, and so if you have a boxing match with a guy who really isn't a boxer, he is a very good marketer and a YouTuber and all of that. He gets in shape and he puts gloves on, and they do these just massive pay-per-views. And I mean, okay, it's a side hustle. I get it. He's making money, but for a true fan, it sucks because that just takes more money out of the pot. And then you have these kids running up to you. I want to learn to box like Jake Paul. Get out of my gym. So it's very hard because these are who they connect to. I had a middle schooler who was like, "No, Jake Paul is still a champion. He was never a champ. Stop it." It's just crazy. So, it sucks. Boxing. Maybe they can start a football league or a baseball team or something else, but they picked my sport, I guess, because we were the easiest to access. And, Floyd, bless his heart, helped that along by fighting. I don't remember which brother he fought, but, it was all about pay-per-view numbers, and he saw the opportunity to make money. So it takes away from the sport as far as I'm concerned. So not a fan. I don't watch. I don't, not my thing.
Well, Nate, I just wanted to say thanks for joining us today, buddy. I got one more quick question before we get you out of here real quick. I just want to know how far along are you on your micro train set? You got it all? You got the city set up yet?
On my what?
Your hobby train set. You got it all figured? You got it done yet?
It never ends. It never ends. Working on any hobbyist who works on the model railroad, they never finish. There's always one more person to glue down, one more stream to do, one more something or another to do. So there's always something. I think I'm going to model a recovery room bar. It'll be great. And I'll put lots of people outside,
I love it.
I like this. Nate Coleman, The Good Fight. Thanks so much for coming on with us this morning. Shar Wagner, she was checking in while we were on here, and she says, "Hi, Nathaniel." So I just wanted to make sure we give Shar a little shout out. Nate, thanks for coming on, buddy. Hey, stop over to see us today. We got the Brewer opening day party starting at about 1 o'clock, okay?
All right. Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it. Take care.
All right.
Thanks, Nate.
See you, buddy.
Bye.
Preferred Insurance is the official auto, home, business, flood, and life insurance agency of the Sports Carnival, serving folks in La Crosse and surrounding areas with licenses in Wisconsin, Minnesota, and Iowa. As an independent insurance agency, Preferred Insurance is free to find the very best insurance for you, your family, or your business needs. Call my friends at Preferred Insurance today and set up a free consultation. Remember, working with an independent agency means Preferred Insurance works for you, with you, to find the best solutions at the best prices.
Welcome back, Sports Carnival. I guess the Tailgating Tales episode number 22 didn't want to play. Dave and Matt here with you, broadcasting from the Trauma Center studio. Thanks so much to Nate Coleman from The Good Fight for coming on today. I've mentioned to you off air here, I was super excited to talk to Nate, Matt, because, not only is he a great guy, community leader, but he's a hell of a boxing fan. And I was desperately curious to find out what his thoughts were on celebrity boxing. I think it's an absolute travesty, and I get that it brings a different kind of a crowd base into boxing. I'm not suggesting that it's completely without merit in some respect, but what it does do to me, it just bastardizes the sport so much. And people already had major reservations about boxing and the legitimacy of some of the ways in which boxing was run, and it just looks like an absolute clown show. But Jake Paul, to his credit, he'd actually surprised the shit out of me. This guy was beating not boxers, but fighters. He beat Tyron Woodley. He beat Ben Askren. I mean, he beat, professional fighters. Now, he largely outweighed these men by, 25, 35 pounds and was much taller, but they were still professional fighters. When he finally, fights a boxer, he gets beat. But I don't know. It just, to me, it feels like a bastardization of the sport. So I'm glad that Nate was largely with me. Jake Paul, he says if a kid comes into the Good Fight and wants to fight like Jake Paul, get out of my gym.
Yeah, get the hell out. Well,
get out of my gym.
I think all three of us are definitely purists when it comes to boxing. That's for sure.
I don't know about purists. I just don't know if I like that kind of thing.
The legitimacy, I guess I'd go with of it, because you just never really know. It's just it's not a side act, but it is. I mean, it's a lot of money on the line, man.
Well, and I'm not against anybody making their money. Like Floyd goes, and Floyd Mayweather, by the way, think what you want about his business. And I know that Nate said he did. He diametrically altered how boxing is consumed now. I don't blame him for that, because that's a good business move. If I could be like Floyd Mayweather and make the kind of money that he made, Money Mayweather, I would. And I wouldn't worry for 1 second how that affected somebody else. Not for 1 second. If I was Floyd Mayweather, would I be like, man, if I go on this pay-per-view thing and make $1 billion, will somebody else not get their cake? Don't care.
Right.
Like, do not care.
How big is Jake Paul?
Dude, he's like 6'4".
No, weight-wise. Like, what?
220, 225. Heavyweight.
That's heavyweight class?
Heavyweight.
I'd love to see him fight John Jones in a boxing match.
See, I think he actually might beat John Jones in a boxing match.
Really?
Yeah, because that's the thing. The MMA fighters, they're not boxers. And that's what Jake Paul kept proving. He beat Anderson Silva, bro. Like, Anderson Silva was pound for pound one of the best mixed martial artists of all time. He beat Anderson Silva like a drum, knocked him the fuck out. So I think he actually could beat John Jones. That's the thing about boxers as opposed to MMA fighters. So think about this. At the peak of Conor McGregor's hype train, and I'm wearing, by the way, Proper 12 glasses. Thank you to Proper 12 for sending them. We'll have these to give away today too. But at the peak of Conor McGregor's greatness, Floyd Mayweather was 40-some years old and took a fight with this man to bat around and toy with him for 8 rounds before he finally ended him when he exactly said that he would, probably because Floyd bet on himself to win at a certain round, right? Like, that's probably what Floyd did. So even an old boxer just fucking toyed with the world's best mixed martial artist at the time, because boxing is such a unique and skilled sport that, I mean, I'm not trying to tell you that MMA doesn't have its technicalities, because it does. Wrestling is probably the most technical part of it. And then you've got the jiu-jitsu. But when you watch these men get on the ground and, beat upon those with open hand and fist like a cave person, that's not the same skill set as using a strike zone like this and being amongst the world's fastest and most agile. And also the fucking amount of endurance that it takes to box, even if you go 10 rounds, that's 30 minutes. 30 minutes. The longest an MMA fight can last under any auspices is 25. And if you go to a championship fight, that's 36 minutes. That's 12 rounds.
I agree with you on that. It's more of an act of attrition in the boxing ring, but just the amount of athleticism, both these sports is just crazy. All these guys are freaks athletes, and I wouldn't want to be caught in a dark alley with any of these guys. So it just is what it is.
Yeah, I don't want to be caught in shit. Floyd Mayweather at 135 pounds would straight whoop the fuck out of 99.9% of all human beings alive today. I don't care how big you are either. He would whoop the fuck out of 99% of humans alive today. Soul Surfer Jason Breacher's checking in with us, and he says this: Mickey Rourke was more of a boxer, I'm guessing, than the Jake. Mickey Rourke quit boxing. Do you remember that in the 80s? So he quit movies, I should say, to go into boxing, and was a full-time professional boxer for years.
I do not remember that.
Oh, dude. So I want to say it was after Angel Heart or another movie, which is a really under-the-radar, awesome Mickey Rourke, Robert De Niro, and Lisa Bonet movie.
Okay.
Holy smokes. Robert De Niro plays the devil. It's a fantastic film. So Angel Heart. So I want to say it was after Angel Heart or something in that time frame. Mickey Rourke quit acting and went to professional boxing. I think that you're probably right. Even though, listen, again, because I think Jake Paul is kind of
27 wins, 17 by knockout.
Yeah. I mean, okay. So, I mean, dude fought a lot. Right? 27 wins. How many losses did he have? At least a dozen, I'd say.
It said 27 by 7. I'm getting in defeats. It says boxing from 64 to 73. Does that make sense?
No. Not Mickey Rourke.
From 1964 to 73, Rourke compiled an amateur boxing record of 27 wins.
Amateur. Yep. Okay, he ended up becoming a professional boxer. That must have been when he was
amateur, he only had 3 defeats.
Okay. Well, listen, yeah, he might have been a better boxer, but Jake Paul, I'll give him credit again. He's beaten fighters. He hasn't beaten a boxer yet. He just lost to Tommy Fury, but he has beaten fighters. So for what that's worth, Jake Paul, hats off. And plus, the dude is like minting a fucking fortune here. And he is the one, by the way, that was doing ayahuasca apparently with Aaron Rodgers. Did you see that? Jake Paul came out and said, I'm the one.
That on Facebook. Yeah, he's like, we were hanging out together. It's like, no shit.
Dude, that made me dislike Aaron Rodgers so much more. I'm like, this fucking chode is the guy that you're hanging out with? Like, this guy? Okay.
Yeah. I got this up for you real quick on Rourke. He sparred with Tommy Hearns, and unfortunately, Hearns knocked him out in 5 minutes.
That
he
is
unconscious.
Not surprising.
Not at all.
Sparring with Tommy Hearns. That he lasted 5 minutes is something, because that goes into the second round.
Yeah.
So he actually lasted a round plus.
With Tom Hearns. Yeah, it's crazy.
Dude. And I think that Tommy the Hitman, even though right now, even though he can't speak well because his brain is completely mush, I think that he could probably still, by reflex and instinct, kick the fucking shit out of most everybody. All right, let's do this real quick, because we have our poll question up about the Major League Baseball win totals for the Brewers. How many games do you think they will win this year? We'll do an update before we leave for the show, but I want to change gears and go into something that I'm going to talk about a bit tonight with John Papadopoulos on ESPN 105.5, which, by the way, in the midst of all of the fun that we're going to have today, the Brewer party, the Bucks coming up at 6:30 versus the Celtics, I'm going to be on ESPN 105.5 at 4:45 this evening with Papadopoulos. Now, my play of the week is going to center around the Final Four, but I am going to talk about NFL season win totals. Major League Baseball win totals just aren't that exciting, but NFL win totals are. Yesterday, we looked at the NFC North, Matt, and we looked at the Packers, obviously the Vikings and the Bears. Packers and Bears right now tied in most books with 7.5 wins apiece predicted. Lions come in at 9.5 and the Vikings at 8.5. That's a general consensus. So if what you see in front of you differs slightly, take that for what it's worth. I put this together this morning. For the rest of the NFL, we're just going to take a look at the whole NFL. This is how it breaks down. The Cardinals, 5.5. The Falcons, 7.5. The Ravens, 8.5. The Bills, 10.5. One of only a couple of teams to get more than 10.5 wins or 10 wins as a predicted outcome this year. The Panthers, 7.5. You've got the Bengals at 11.5. Very, very bullish on the Bengals. The Browns matter 8.5. The Bears, we mentioned, 7.5. The Cowboys, 9.5 wins. The Broncos, 8.5. The Lions, they've got here at 9.5. I said, don't worry about that. Packers, 7.5. Houston, 5.5. The Colts at just 6.5. Kansas City, 11.5. The Chargers, 9.5. Rams, 7.5. Jacksonville, 9.5. The Raiders, 7.5. The Dolphins, 9.5. Vikings, we mentioned. The Patriots are at 7.5, 7.5. The Saints, 9.5. Really looking like Derek Carr gave them a boost. Giants, 8.5. Jets, 9.5. That has got to be because they think that Aaron Rodgers will be their quarterback. The Eagles and the 49ers are the last two teams to get over a 10-win projection. The Eagles at 10.5. The 49ers, 11.5. Seattle, Pittsburgh, each with 8.5. Tampa Bay, 6.5. Tennessee and Washington, each at 7.5. Now, looking over these and taking aside the NFC North, which we looked at yesterday, do any of these teams and their projected win totals stand out at you as a surprise, either being too low or too high?
Eagles, 10.5, way too high.
You think so?
Yep. They've lost way too much in the offseason. They've had a lot of changes. They've lost their coaching staff. We talked about it yesterday with Coach. There's a lot of teams where you have 4 or 5 teams that make it in the playoffs one year and they don't make it the following year. Just that's way too high with me for the Philadelphia Eagles at 10.5.
You know, I think that there is something to, I don't think they can't make the playoffs because the NFC East is not, well, I mean, listen, they had a lot of playoff teams last year. It's a winnable division, but to your point, the Eagles have lost a lot. And I mean, a lot. And it's not just their coaching staff, players, right? Like a lot of players are not going to be on that team. They bring back Hurts. They've got Jason Kelsey. He didn't retire. So that's good for them. They keep their center.
Yeah, Howard too. I mean, they have a good offense, but where's that defense going to be, and where's the coaching staff? I just think it's too high. So
well, they've got listen. They've got a lot of draft picks. Don't forget that part of what they did was get a lot of draft picks here, so they do have that. And I think that Philadelphia, because of those draft picks, can reload here a bit. 10.5 wins, though, I agree, maybe seems a little high. The team to me that jumps out as a little surprising here, at least on initial blush, is the San Francisco 49ers at 11.5. Like, I know they have the best roster, at least largely considered the best roster by many. Who is their quarterback?
Right now, it's Sam Darnold.
Okay.
Yeah, rough.
I mean, and Trey Lance, is he ever going to play? I know that Brock Purdy, according to John Lynch, who's the GM of San Francisco, would be the starter today.
If he was healthy.
If he was healthy. They said that Brock Purdy has earned the right to be the starter. And I know that he went 7-0 until he blew out his arm as a starter for San Francisco. I don't know if I think that's a great idea. Because Brock Purdy, like a lot of quarterbacks who you see, Brock Osweiler had incredible success in 7 games with the Broncos. Then teams started figuring him out, right? Like, there are a lot of quarterbacks that start and then have no tape on them, essentially, in the NFL, that have great success.
Matt Flynn,
another great point. And actually, no, he didn't have as many starts. He started 1 game for Green Bay. He couldn't even get the starting job for Russell Wilson in Seattle. So even less. But there are some guys, I think that Josh Freeman was one.
That's a good call.
Right? So he flamed out after Tampa Bay. That was a quick out. There are some guys that just, once you see what they are, Mac Jones, another great example here. He was as good as he was ever going to be in his rookie year. And then last year, what happened? The fact that he isn't very good was on full display. There was tape, and the teams went out and just clobbered him. So I guess what I'm saying is this. Brock Purdy, while I enjoy that story, definitely like seeing what I saw last year, I don't know that I would trust him with a full fucking team and a full season. So San Francisco, to me, at 11.5 wins, just seems a bit high. Some teams that I think are probably getting a little bit less respect than they deserve include the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at 6.5 wins. Listen, I know that Tampa Bay, what did they win last year? 8 games. They went 8-9, and they won the division, go to the playoffs. That division's not markedly better now. You do have the Saints, and they give them a 9.5 win total projection. That might be high. They might go 9-8 with Derek Carr. Maybe they win 10 games. I don't know. But I think Tampa Bay could win. I think they could cobble together 7, maybe 8 wins because, again, you're playing the Panthers, right? You're playing the Saints. You're playing some of these teams, the Falcons, who are only projected to win 7.5 games.
It's going to be an ugly division, but Baker Mayfield's your starting quarterback right now.
Yeah, but in that division, I mean, okay, so who's Atlanta's starting quarterback? Desmond Ridder?
Yep.
Okay, I'll take Baker Mayfield over him.
Okay.
In Carolina, we assume they're going to take one of those quarterbacks with the top pick, right? So depending on who that is will largely determine how they go. If they end up taking Bryce Young from Alabama, I think that's going to be a mistake. I know that people think that this kid is just all sorts of awesome. He's too small. He's just too small. Look at the Arizona Cardinals. They're getting a 5.5 win total projection. Why? Because their quarterback is mighty might. Okay? I know he's quick, and sometimes it's fun to watch his highlights. He's too fucking small. That's just it. He's too small. So Bryce Young is going to be whatever. But if they take an Anthony Richardson, that's a project. If they take a guy like CJ Stroud, maybe, right? Like, that's a maybe. They could maybe do something with that. I guess what I'm saying is I just don't think Tampa Bay gets quite enough credit here. I'd give them about 7 wins. New York, the Jets, 9.5, that's wishful thinking. They better have Aaron Rodgers there. Otherwise, I don't know where they're getting these 9 wins. Good defense, but they can't score.
I'm with you on that too, brother. And honestly, the Bears are at 7.5 just because of their strength of schedule. They're not playing any really good teams, so that's going to be a hard push for the Bears at 7.5. And I honestly don't even know if the Texans will get to 5.5.
Yeah, I don't know. That DeMeco Ryans has got his work cut out for him. Also, another one that sticks out at me, if we're watching this on the screen, looking at the Cleveland Browns, 8.5. Good luck. I feel like Deshaun Watson's washed. I really do. Like, I think that this guy's washed. When you sit out so much and then, try to restart your career, not that it can't happen, but he was not a seminal, generational, multi-generational talent that should have commanded, first of all, $250 million. I don't know if I believe it in Cleveland. 8.5 wins feels a little rich, but I can see them winning 8 games. If they win 9, it wouldn't be completely out of the question. But again, that division, Pittsburgh's not going to give it to you, right? Like, they're not just going to hand you the division. That division's going to be tough. You got Cincinnati, you got Baltimore. I don't care who's the quarterback for the Ravens. They'll always be a tough out, especially for the fucking Browns. So we'll see. I think they got a little bit more credit than they probably deserve, but that's why this is super fun. And like I mentioned tonight, 5:45, I'll sneak out for a few minutes from the recov in between the Brewer game and the Bucks game, and I'll come up here and talk to John Papadopoulos, give you my weekly play, which will be centered on the Final Four, and we'll talk some NFL win totals too.
Looking forward to hearing you tonight, man.
Yeah, me too, because it's going to be awesome. We kill that shit. You know that, right?
Yeah, it's going to be a busy day all the way around, man.
Oh, I'm so excited. Well, we'll see you guys and gals at 1 o'clock. Really hope to see you anyways. Joey Miller is coming. He's over 18. He asked because it's early if he can come. Yes, you just can't sit at the bar, but otherwise, yes, you can come. And again, we'll have stadium food specials, brats, dogs, $1 off beers. And of course, we're going to have some fun things to give away, including Proper 12 sunglasses. We've got some extra fun things from St. Patrick's Day, and I've got something from the memorabilia vault that we'll be giving away too in honor of the Brewers. See you guys in a couple hours downstairs at the Recov.
Go Cubs. Peace.
Ugh.